Welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Line. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
And today we'll be taking a deep dive into the arts of mime and choreography through the song Christ.
Yes, so this is a song, part 14 of of Project Understory. And for a little bit of background, Project Understory is a mime opera that we're working on.
Opera.
Yeah, and it's
21 or 22 parts now.
I don't even know at this point. So it's at 20-something parts at this point where we have choreographed or are currently in the process of choreographing the whole Bible in mime, but also 2 tracks made by Toby Fox from Undertale and other peripheral things.
Represent
as
Toby
well.
Fox, Undertale. Yep, so all the music is Undertale. If not, you know Undertale better than I do.
There are technically a couple of songs that are not actually from Undertale. There's like The Legend, which is from Deltarune. Then there's also Megalo Strike Back, which is not even from Undertale at all, but it is by Toby Fox. Yeah. So there's things like that get thrown in.
Yeah, but currently we got about 14 of the parts done. Haven't been all sequential. There's some gaps in there. Yeah. But if you want to go look, there'll be a link to the playlist in the description and enjoy it because it flows from one song to another, even though some of the songs were recorded as of what? When did you write Crown?
Oh man, Crown was...
Because we presented it at a mime camp in 17? Yeah, so 2018. Like
so 2018 was when we presented and recorded Crown. Yeah. Granted, I had been writing that for a while, and
yeah, you've been working on the spreadsheets. You should see this guy; he's a nerd.
Yeah, trying to be organized, keep everybody on the same track. Yeah. Like with Project Understory being such a crazy undertaking, like I didn't want to have to do this all myself. First of all, because that's a huge project, like 22 parts. I think it started off as like 18 parts.
The one keeps adding.
Yeah. Because of there being 18 parts, like I couldn't just write 18 songs. Now, hypothetically, I could, and I could force it to work, but like you kind of lose inspiration, lose your gumption trying to go into those.
Yes, people have perspective on it, right?
Yeah.
You wrote some of the Old Testament songs like Crown that are way better than I could have done just because it takes knowing the history already and like organizing it really well.
Yeah, and so coming into it, I wanted other people to kind of be able to join the project. And it started off as just me, and then Sam kind of hopped in with helping me out a lot with it, which I appreciate, by the way.
Yep.
This is the only thing I appreciate. No.
So this is the second song that I have done for Project Understory, Christ. Yeah, it's really fun. It was a joy to think through all 4 Gospels, including Luke. It was a pleasure to think through all 4.
All 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and John.
And Acts. No. Oh, man. Sorry, no joke. I'll start over here. It was a pleasure working through all 4 Gospels and thinking through which parts I wanted to show. We managed to get about 6 miracles in there, which I'm still one short of John 7, so we'll see how it goes. But I think there's nothing left to do but just watch it.
Yeah.
This is 2022. This is my team who choreographed it. I had done the set pieces as far as organizing what needed to be where, but then they are the ones who actually put the choreography to the song and the music. There was a couple parts that had to shift and bend and all that, but in all, it was my initial thought and my team's choreography. So thank you to all those people who are on in San Diego that year that helped choreograph it. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. All right, so this one is at our annual mime camp.
Mm-hmm. The first thing of note, this is Hopes and Dreams, which is just a really good song from the Undertale soundtrack, maybe top 5.
So the beginning's a little underdeveloped here. This is Mary saying goodbye to Jesus on his ministry. This would have just ended Jesus' growing up story and leading into John the Baptist with his staff. Yeah, throughout the whole project, we have this staff representing kind of that prophet, preacher type role.
Yeah, because classically we have like Jesus' sash is kind of something that's iconic in mime, and we kind of wanted to do that also with like the staff and with the crown and other things that go along with it.
It might be hard to see, but we have one person being a Pharisee and 2 people being Jesus' future disciples here. Shout out to the Holy Spirit. We had some fun trying to figure out how to show Holy Spirit. Decided on a white sash with a dove. White sash is a common kind of trope throughout the whole Project Understory series.
Mm-hmm.
God's chosen one, so got the purple sash to show Jesus, got the white sash, and then we got the staff too. So we got all the pictures here.
Yep.
So
And suddenly virtuoso.
yeah, it made sense to show the desert and the temptation scene. So we have something of what a mirage, if you would. So we have first temptation, we have enough people showing the rocks turning into bread, the mountains turning into temples, and then the palm trees in the desert turning into kind of all the powers of the world. So all three temptations with people representing the, what did you call it, mirages in the desert. Jesus calling the original disciples here. We originally had this part as the Sermon on the Mount, but decided that we'd go with the Luke account of Jesus' beginning of his ministry, saying that today this is fulfilled in your hearing. We tried to integrate teaching moments of Jesus' teaching, because there's a lot of those throughout all the Gospels, as well as those were opportunities to let the Pharisees really shine in their madness. The story gets interrupted by a leper, of course, one of the first miracles. If I could add anything, I would add one more miracle somewhere in here, and I don't know how I'd do it.
Just throw in a miracle, just willy-nilly.
So this was a hard thing to try to figure out. We wanted to show Jesus' teaching, but how do we show an abstract concept like teaching? So we had a tree showing the parable here, and we wanted to show the disciples' progression of understanding. So them not understanding was, or them getting understanding was in contrast to the Pharisees, who are just kind of ridiculing the whole time. And then, of course, we had a cool idea of trying to get the leper to come through the roof of the house, but didn't quite work out. So.
Yeah, so they just get plopped on the floor.
I mean, that was only the Gospel of Mark, so we decided to go with the Matthew account of him just being brought there and less details of the roof. So here you got that kind of separation between Pharisees and disciples, and then the healing.
There grabs a staff and continues on.
Yep. Staff coming down is just one of those moments where we're about to teach. Yeah, so staging this was another fun one where we have the disciples standing up and listening, and then everybody else on their knees, showing some delineation between the disciples and crowd. Also, watch this best part.
Yeah, perfect unison.
Yeah. The other thing that happens a lot in Jesus' ministry is that there's a lot of water with crossing the boat. So we wanted to show a couple of those and do them in unique ways. So we show Jesus teaching the crowd kind of transforms to water, and then they're on the other side. Notice that little stage shift where they come over the water, but now they're here and we need to show Jesus feeding the 5,000.
Yep, and all the people are doing a pretty good job, like looking hungry, and Jesus takes pity on them and has compassion for them, and of course that leads into
we
this.
We attempted to keep the story plots of the Gospels the same, where in a lot of the Gospels it kept that same theme where Jesus was teaching, he crossed the other side, the crowds meet him over there, they're hungry, he feeds them, and then the walking on water.
More water, yay!
More water, exactly. In the end, the final form, we might add some streamers or some other cool things here, but
I was gonna say like some blue ribbons or something to delineate. That would be kind of neat.
Another fun trope throughout Project Understory is people praying like the prophets, and so Jesus kind of lines himself up to pray like the other prophets. It was also fun trying to line this up with trying to get Cadence, who was acting as Peter here, through the water, and trying to show the waters clearing instantly as soon as he gets caught back in the boat. So we tried to make it so that they were kind of small, able to be small and moving out of the way. And then we finished our journey to the other side, where immediately, as the Gospel of Mark would say, they found the demoniac.
Yep, I actually really like how these three did this part. It looks really cool because it feels like all this crazy stuff is going on, different people talking. Like, I don't know. I thought they did it really well.
We tried to show that whole demoniac where there's a legion of people there, Also, we wanted to show the result of that story where he's told to go out, as well as the village is the one who kicks Jesus out. And so disciples ask Jesus, crowd responds negatively, so he leaves. Kind of showing that whole part of the story if possible. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole Project Understory thing, because that staff gets passed along from person to person throughout the whole time, prophet to prophet, and leader, if you would. And so this is where Peter gives his confession of you are the Christ, and then he gets the staff.
That symbolism passed on.
This is the John 11 moment here with Lazarus being sick and about to die, so Jesus is telling his disciples that he's going to die on the cross. It's all part of the plan. And then you got the like stage being split enough here so you see the messenger coming to Jesus. The disciples are the ones like, oh cool, let's go. And you're like, nope, we're gonna wait here. Gotta love John. Yeah, normally there'd be more people on stage to show the tune rather than just one, but short on people.
When we actually get the real Project Understory up and running, we're gonna have like 50 people.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm just kidding.
Shout out to Emily filling in for Martha and Mary there. Now, we tried to make this with the music a nice, delicate moment because it was trying to show the whole Jesus wept idea that it is a sad contrast here. But then Jesus' penultimate miracle, if you could say that.
Mm-hmm. The foreshadow of his own life.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, that's me.
Yeah, right.
I've been standing in 00 for about 7 minutes, by the way.
Also, you notice at the very end, you got three groups of people. You got the disciples who are looking towards Jesus, the crowd, or Martha and Mary, that are reaching towards Lazarus, and you got the disciples who are, or the Pharisees that are ready to kill Jesus. Yeah, trying to show that three classifications of how people respond to Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So that's the song. All right, what would you say the message and purpose of the song is?
I'd say the purpose is for it to be,
Project
Understory.
I mean, we kind of already talked about that a little bit, but what would you say about the message of the song? Because part of the goal was not just doing the whole Bible in Mime. We wanted to make each part something that could theoretically be presented in a regular presentation outreach.
Right, they all are supposed to interconnect and be like part of one cohesive message, as is the story of the Bible, you could say. And so ultimately, to understand who Jesus is, his proof for his Christhood, his godhood even. Yeah. That is conveyed in here with the miracles, with his teaching, his authority is shown, all those kinds of concepts I think are pretty well done in Christ as well.
Yeah. No, I'd say a message in that way was trying to show the validity of Jesus's ministry, right. That the miracles prove why he's the one that we're looking for, and to show that he kind of fulfills everything. And that'll ultimately come in with consolation when Jesus rises from the dead, that song. But at least all the parts of it are showing, him being the guy we're looking for. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Any things that worked well? I know it's a long song. So.
Yeah. So I really like the song, of course, because, first of all, being Project Understory is part of it. But it also is, I think, a very well choreographed song. It's got a lot of things that maybe aren't super popular scriptures from the Gospels.
Yeah, we try to delve into all the stories that are towards the purpose, but not necessarily the ones that there's no blind person in this.
Yeah, and so you approach those in a very interesting way in that you get what they are, and that's really tough. This was a song that I was dreading having somebody write because I was going to be like, oh gosh, you got so much Jesus. He covers so much territory in such a short period of time.
This is the second longest song of the whole project.
Yeah, and rightfully so. It could be longer.
Yeah. And we're only covering 4 books, the Bible here, but it has a lot packed in it that's super significant, especially because the whole project, this is one of those culminating moments of all of the Old Testament stuff. There's a lot of foreshadowing. So whenever we do podcasts on that, watch it. It's really, I think, really fun how it's all come together.
Yeah, we'll talk about those when the time comes.
Exactly.
Yep.
Anything else that worked well particularly? It was a fun time working with my team, trying to figure out how we're going to make water 4 or 5 times. So you have the water in John the Baptist, you have the 2 waters crossings as well. I think those are the 3 big ones, but trying to show them all in unique ways was a fun choreography task.
Yep. And one thing I also really like that I didn't mention is how the different flows of the music kind of flowed into how the story went. Because there's, first of all, with Hopes and Dreams, that's kind of how the song goes. There's a lot of ebbs and flows with the song.
Yeah.
But with this rendition by Rush Garcia, he emphasized those a lot more. And then you were able to take those and put those cues into really
whenever you have
good
a long,
portions.
Yeah, whenever you have a long song, you can lose your audience just if it's kind of too monolithic in some ways. So the fact that we can lean into, now we're going to go across the water and we're going to spend some time enjoying that water, it was like, oh, we're transitioning scenes. This is now a new thing. And it gave kind of a flavor to each one of the miracles that happened. You know? Yeah, staging was another like thing we had to work out as far as the water being in the middle of the stage. So then you had to kind of shift the water with the people so that it showed Jesus's progression of travel. That was another thing we tried to do. I think it worked out.
I think it was great.
Any critiques of the song?
Terrible, absolutely everything. Throw it in the trash, redo it from the top.
Okay, sounds good. Now, one critique I would have for myself is, though there are a lot of miracles, the blind person would be one that I would want to add somewhere or to integrate in, partly because it's really significant to prophecy and how that gets developed.
And though they were blind, they could still see.
And I think there's some spaces that could work towards that idea, but we'll see how it all pans out at the end. I will also say adding one more miracle gets us to that magical number of 7.
Yep.
Which would make my people who love Johannian literature happy. 7 are overpowered. Any other critiques you'd add?
It's not necessarily a critique of the song, but I would like to see I'd like to see how this goes with a lot more people.
Yes.
Because there are some aspects that I think worked just fine when there were not that many people.
Yeah, 10 to 15 people or whatever.
Yeah. And then when there are more people, I think it does pretty well with, like, you're talking about the tomb being one. That's a great example. Another example is like the disciples versus the crowd. It would be really great to be able to delineate the crowd, the Pharisees, and the disciples a bit better.
We didn't have enough people, so sometimes the Pharisees were blending more into the crowd.
Right.
And so if we had enough people to separate them more, I'd almost add some like costumes to the Pharisees slightly.
Right.
I don't know what that exactly looks like, but
put black scarves on.
Exactly.
It's the classic thing.
Yeah. But something to delineate, I think, would help. Especially that last picture is really key to the development of the rest, where you got like these people accepted, these people rejected, and that's like in crucifixion, a big part of it.
Yeah. So delineation of characters is crazy, but just because mime is a little bit hard to do that.
No, and the beginning of the song, it's like a little underdeveloped, partly because I'm not sure how the previous song in the project of Jesus's birth and growing up will work.
Yeah, as of right now, that hasn't been written yet. So
exactly. So once that's written, the beginning part might be added into that. But I'm overall very, very proud of how it turned out.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Cool. Theology, we've been kind of already mentioning it. But
yeah, we've been going through it. The 7s. It has to be 7 because if it's not 7, it's like it's heresy.
Well, 6 is like the number, so
yeah,
like,
it's the third of the number of the beast or whatever.
Exactly.
You know?
So falling short. Cool. All right. Ratings, clarity, difficulty, style.
Clarity gets a -5. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, clarity is actually where I'd probably go lower than the other two. Partly because there's a lot going on, and if you didn't already know the story, then you're gonna be lost in some of these miracles. There is a thought about adding audio. It hasn't quite worked out perfectly yet, so we're working on that potentially. But clarity-wise, as it is, I think you're still gonna get Jesus does miracles, people respond. I think that was one of the big like focal points of the message. I'd probably say 7 to like middle of the road.
I honestly, I would give clarity I was going to give it a 6.
Yeah.
Mostly because like you kind of have to know what's going on for it to fully get it.
I think you're going to get the baseline, if you're thinking of like, what's the baseline understanding the message of like Jesus does miracles and people respond to him. By the end of it, I think you're definitely going to get that.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some stories that you're going to not understand.
Yeah. And so, I mean, granted, that's probably the lowest score that I'm going to give on this because it's a very good song. But because of like, if you don't know who Jesus is, you don't know his miracles, like there are some things that you can still pick up on, which is why I gave it a 6 and not like a 2.
Yeah.
Like there are things you can pick up on. You get like the general idea of Jesus teaching, people responding. That I think is done really well.
You're going to get the water. You're going to get the classic stories that kind of everyone knows.
Yeah. So yeah, 6. Sorry.
All right, and then a rating for difficulty.
Honestly, I'm giving this one like I'm thinking either an 8 or a 9.
There. So there's no one technique that's gonna like blow you out of the water.
Right.
But one thing that we noticed is the disciples, even though they're like a front runner of like being on the stage and active the whole time, they're some of the easier parts. Whereas those disciples so are the crowd and also are the people getting healed and also are the Pharisees, like they do work as far as like how much they have to remember parts and turning around. I would easily say 9 for just that reason alone.
It's just because I would give it an 8 or 9 because
If it had if it had harder technique, I'd give it a 10. But because most of the techniques are manageable, as far as that 9.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any backflips in it, which we talked about how you have to have a backflip in order to give it
a full on 10.
Yeah. What was that style?
But what's that?
What was that style that we talked about?
No, that's difficult. I don't
difficult.
know. Oh, I think we talked about that for style. Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah, get out. No, just kidding. All right, so difficulty, yeah, I'd probably give it. I'm leaning toward an 8, just simply because it's not a lot of difficult stuff, but it is a lot.
Yes.
And like I can't give it lower than an 8 because of how much there is.
Yes.
There's a lot of moving parts. There has to be a lot of good cue memorization, good flow in order for people to actually get it correct.
Yeah, that desert sequence is actually one of the harder ones because the way music works, there's four counts of 4, right? So you have to do 3 miracles over a count of 8 moments, and it's awkward counting wise, and so you kind of have to be in sync with where Satan is moving, and it's just very hard. And if you're not doing it the same way every time, you're going to miss some of those sequences. Yeah. Cool. All right, and style. Is this gonna be our first 10? Because it's me. I'm biased.
In all honesty, I wasn't gonna give it a 10.
Okay.
I was gonna give it a 9. But yeah, the reason I give it a 9, not a 10, is first of all, no backflips.
No backflips.
But the reason that I give it such high ratings, first of all, is because like there are a lot of artistic things being done in here. There is a lot of like, this is maybe the best version of Jesus's life put into mime that might exist. There's a lot of crucifixion scenes that happen, and there's not a whole lot of Jesus's life and miracles that happen. Most of the Jesus's life and miracles are like 10 seconds of choreography.
Right, and it's not the purpose of the song. Most of the time we're getting to like, here's how you get saved message.
Yeah, and so with this takes what would be a part of the song that is a throwaway part and just amplifies it to 11, and I think it's beautiful. I really like it.
No, style-wise on the theology, I would say that was like one of the highlights that it was a joy to work on for me, of like trying to take all the things that I've learned. Shout out to InterVarsity doing the Mark Camp, all the things that going on from there. Shout out to Tim King, all to work through Book of Matthew. Shout out to my church going through the Book of John, and that's about it.
There's no other books to care about.
No. Luke is the one that I've actually done like a long study with a group, so go figure. But I will say shout out to Brooke. She was the one who was like, well, wouldn't that make more sense being from Luke, of where Jesus says, like, today this has been fulfilled in your hearing as the start of his ministry. I'm like, ooh, that's good. Mm-hmm. So, kind of a combination of all of it. But it just working out how we're going to show the main points of the story was a lot of fun. Honestly, as far as style, because mime-wise, it was really cool, like all the techniques we added, but I would still only give it like an 8 actually myself, because like theologically, I feel like that's a 10 for me. But like actual mime, which is I think what we're really basing it off of, I feel like an 8 is where it lands, just because there's no like actual mime.
Yeah, I guess it is true. Like, I give it a 9 because of all the things that it does and does well. Yeah. And a lot of like, take for example, Jesus going into the wilderness and being tempted by Satan. Mm-hmm. Like that is something that, I joked about being in Virtuoso. That's literally a scene from Virtuoso. It feels like it was torn from there, but it was expounded upon, and you got like the visuals that go along with it, with some of the technique and stuff like that. And I really appreciate that. Yeah, and then you got like a lot of the technique and stuff like that goes along with, like, let's say the water and going in boats and stuff like that. That's pretty good. But like where I give it a lot of the style is that there's a lot of like visual artfulness being put into what would otherwise be like, Jesus talks a lot. Like, let's be honest.
Right. Well, that's so that's the weakness of the song, because like we try to show the teaching moments, but it like, if you don't know what it is, it could be kind of unclear of what he's saying. Yeah. And that's where we really need the audio to come through the dialogue. Yep. But I'll still give it an 8.
I'm giving it a 9. You know what? You did a good job, okay? Giving you a 9.
All right. As always, thanks for watching. I know it's a longer video because it's a longer song, but we enjoyed doing it. So links down below for the whole playlist of the Project Understory. So go watch it. It's really good. It's good stuff.
Even though, like, as of right now, is the release of this video, it is incomplete, but at some point it will be. And at some point, We're gonna get it, yeah, unless Lord returns or whatever.
Yeah, we're hoping to finish it, but
Yeah.
Hit the like button.
Mash that like subscribe.
Comment down below if you have any other thoughts about the life of Jesus or things you would change and do whatnot.
Yeah.
But as always, I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton. Breaking the line.